Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most quietly fascinating coins in American numismatic history, the 1974 mint mark Washington quarter dollar. This is not just a coin that passed through countless hands at grocery stores and gas stations. It is a small metal witness to a turbulent, emotional, and transformational time in the United States of America. By the end of this video, you will understand why this particular quarter continues to attract attention, curiosity, and serious collector interest. Decades after it was struck, the Washington quarter has always carried a special weight in American coinage. First introduced in the early 20th century to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, the design quickly became a permanent fixture in daily commerce. By the time 1974 arrived, the quarter was already deeply embedded in American life. It jingled in pockets, rested in car ashtrays, and sat in change jars on kitchen counters across the nation. Yet behind its familiar appearance lies a story that many people overlook. The year 1974 was anything but ordinary for the United States. The country was emerging from the Vietnam War era, grappling with economic uncertainty, inflation, and the aftershocks of political scandal. Trust in institutions was shaken, and Americans were redefining their relationship with government, money, and national identity. Coins minted during this time silently absorbed this atmosphere, becoming historical artifacts rather than mere tools of exchange. The Washington quarter of 1974 continued the classic design created by John Flanagan. On the front, George Washington's profile faces left, calm and dignified. His expression feels steady, almost reassuring, especially when you remember how unstable the country felt at the time. The inscriptions surrounding him reflect long-standing American ideals: liberty, trust, and unity. These words carried even more emotional weight during a decade when many people were questioning what those ideals truly meant. Turn the coin over, and you find the familiar eagle with outstretched wings, perched proudly. This reverse design symbolizes strength, vigilance, and endurance. In 1974, those qualities were deeply needed. The eagle seems to hold its ground, much like the nation itself, determined to move forward despite challenges. Now let us talk about mint marks, because this is where the story becomes especially interesting. The 1974 Washington quarter was produced at multiple United States mints, each leaving a small but significant letter on the coin. These mint marks tell us where the coin was born and often play a crucial role in determining desirability and long-term worth. To the untrained eye, these tiny letters might seem insignificant, but to collectors, they are everything. Each mint had its own production conditions, levels of quality control, and output volume. Some coins were struck more sharply, others more softly. Some entered circulation heavily, while others remained relatively untouched. Over time, these differences have created distinct varieties that collectors actively seek. The 1974 mint mark quarters are a perfect example of how subtle details can transform an everyday object into a collectible treasure. Another important factor is composition. By 1974, the Washington quarter was no longer made of silver. Instead, it consisted of a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. While some people assume that the absence of silver lowers a coin's importance, experienced collectors know that rarity, condition, and historical context can matter just as much, if not more. Condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A 1974 Washington quarter that has spent decades bouncing around in circulation will naturally show wear. Scratches, dull surfaces, and softened details reduce visual appeal. However, examples that were carefully preserved or never circulated can appear almost frozen in time. These coins display sharp lettering, crisp details, and a luster that reflects light beautifully. Such specimens are far less common than many people realize. Collectors also pay close attention to strike quality. Some 1974 quarters exhibit especially strong strikes, where Washington's hair details and the eagle's feathers are sharply defined. Others show weaker strikes, which can actually increase interest if they represent a known variation. These nuances turn coin collecting into a form of detective work, where patience and knowledge are rewarded. The historical timing of the 1974 quarter adds another layer of intrigue. This was the last full year before the United States celebrated its bicentennial. Anticipation for the upcoming anniversary was building, and patriotic themes were once again entering public consciousness. Coins minted during this period exist on the threshold between old traditions and new commemorative designs that would soon follow. Because of this, many collectors view 1974 quarters as part of a transitional era. They represent the final stretch of the classic eagle reverse before dramatic changes arrived. Holding one of these coins is like holding the closing chapter of a long-running story, just before the next volume begins. Over the years, interest in Washington quarters has steadily grown. What once seemed ordinary has become increasingly appreciated. New generations of collectors are discovering that value is not always obvious at first glance. It is hidden in details, stories, and survival over time. The 1974 mint Mark Washington quarter perfectly embodies this idea. Another fascinating aspect is the emotional connection people have with this coin. Many Americans remember using these quarters during their childhood or seeing them in their parents' wallets. Nostalgia plays a powerful role in collecting. When history meets personal memory, a simple coin can become deeply meaningful. As demand grows and high-quality examples become harder to find, attention naturally turns toward their financial worth. Collectors study auction records, grading reports, and market trends. They compare subtle differences and debate long-term potential. While not every 1974 quarter will reach exceptional status, certain mint mark examples in outstanding condition have proven themselves worthy of serious consideration. This brings us to the moment many of you have been waiting for. After understanding the history, design, minting process, condition factors, and collector demand, the question of value finally comes into focus. When all the right elements come together, including mint mark significance and exceptional preservation, the worth of a 1974 Washington quarter can reach $65.275. We are diving deep into one such coin that continues to fascinate collectors and history lovers alike, the United States of America 1979 mint Mark Washington quarter dollar. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never look at a quarter the same way again. A snapshot of America in the late 70s. To truly understand the significance of the 1979 Washington quarter, we must first step back in time. The United States during the late 1970s was a nation in transition. The country was navigating economic challenges, cultural shifts, and rapid changes in technology and daily life. Coins minted during this era were not just tools for commerce, they were silent witnesses to history. Every quarter produced carried with it the weight of the times, reflecting the resilience and identity of the American people. The Washington quarter design itself had already become an iconic symbol by 1979. Introduced decades earlier to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States, the coin had evolved from a commemorative piece into a standard part of everyday currency. By the time 1979 arrived, the Washington quarter was deeply woven into American life, yet each year and mint mark added subtle layers of uniqueness. Understanding mint marks and their meaning. One of the most intriguing aspects of coin collecting is the mint mark. For many people, it is a tiny detail, often overlooked. For collectors, it is a crucial clue that tells a much larger story. Mint marks reveal where a coin was produced, and each mint had its own production methods, output levels, and historical circumstances. In 1979, Washington quarters were struck at different United States mints, each leaving its own distinct mark. These mint marks help collectors identify variations and understand rarity, demand, and overall desirability. While the design remained consistent, the story behind each mint mark gives the coin its personality. This is where a simple quarter begins to transform into a collectible piece of history. Design details that matter. The obverse of the Washington quarter proudly features the left-facing portrait of George Washington. His expression is calm yet determined, symbolizing leadership and stability. The word liberty arches gracefully above his head, while the phrase "In God We Trust" rests nearby, reinforcing the values held dear by the nation. The date 1979 anchors the coin firmly in its historical moment. Turn the coin over, and the reverse displays the majestic eagle with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows and framed by olive branches. This powerful imagery represents strength and peace, a balance that the United States has long sought to maintain. The inscriptions United States of America and quarter dollar encircle the design, clearly stating the coin's origin and denomination. What makes the 1979 mint Mark Washington quarter particularly fascinating is not just the design itself, but the quality of the strike, the finish, and how well these details have been preserved over time. Sharp lettering, strong details, and minimal wear can dramatically influence how a coin is perceived by collectors. Condition and preservation. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Two quarters from the same year and mint can have vastly different levels of appeal depending on how they were handled and stored over the decades. Coins that spent years in circulation often show signs of wear, softened details, scratches, and surface marks that tell a story of daily use. On the other hand, quarters that were set aside early, perhaps by collectors or saved in rolls, can remain remarkably well preserved. These coins showcase crisp lines, original luster, and a level of visual appeal that immediately stands out. For the 1979 Washington quarter, higher-grade examples are especially desirable, as they capture the coin exactly as it appeared when it first left the mint. Why collectors are drawn to this coin? The appeal of the 1979 mint Mark Washington quarter lies in a combination of familiarity and discovery. It is a coin many people remember using, yet few truly studied. Collectors are often drawn to coins that bridge everyday life and historical significance, and this quarter does exactly that. Another factor is accessibility. Unlike extremely rare or ancient coins, the 1979 Washington quarter feels approachable. It invites new collectors to begin their journey while still offering depth and challenge for experienced numismatists. The hunt for the best preserved examples, subtle variations, and strong mint strikes keeps interest alive year after year. Historical context and lasting legacy. Coins are more than metal, they are messages passed through time. The 1979 Washington quarter reflects a specific chapter in American history, one marked by change, endurance, and adaptation. Holding this coin is like holding a small piece of that era, a reminder of where the nation has been and how it continues to evolve. As the years pass, coins from the late 20th century are steadily gaining attention. What was once considered modern is now becoming historical. This shift has brought renewed interest to quarters like the 1979 mint Mark issue, encouraging collectors to re-examine their worth and significance, evaluating worth beyond face value. When people hear the word quarter, they often think of something small, ordinary, and inexpensive. But in the world of numismatics, value goes far beyond face value. Factors such as condition, eye appeal, demand, and historical relevance all play a role in determining how much a coin is worth to collectors. The 1979 Washington quarter, especially with a notable mint mark and excellent preservation, can command serious attention. Collectors appreciate the balance of availability and quality, making it a coin that continues to hold its place in the market. Understanding its worth requires patience, knowledge, and a genuine appreciation for the art and history of coinage. Final thoughts in closing. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on how something so small can carry such a rich story. The United States of America 1979 mint Mark Washington quarter dollar is more than just spare change. It is a symbol of a nation, a moment in time, and the enduring fascination of collecting. Whether you are a seasoned collector, a curious beginner, or someone who simply enjoys learning about history, this coin offers a compelling narrative. The next time you come across a quarter, look a little closer. You might just be holding a hidden treasure. We are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern U.S. coins among enthusiasts, the United States of America 1994 P mint Mark Washington quarter dollar. This coin may look ordinary at first glance, but its story, background, design, minting process, and collector appeal make it far more interesting than most people ever imagined. To truly appreciate this quarter, we must first understand the era in which it was created. The early 1990s were a time of transition in the United States. Technology was rapidly advancing, the internet was beginning to shape communication, and American culture was shifting toward a new millennium. Amid all this change, the U.S. Mint continued its long tradition of producing circulating coinage that combined everyday usefulness with deep historical symbolism. The Washington quarter, first introduced in the early 20th century, remained a strong symbol of American identity and continuity, and by 1994, it had already become one of the most recognizable coins in the nation. The Washington quarter features the profile of George Washington, the first President of the United States, a man whose legacy is woven into the foundation of the country. His image on the obverse side of the coin is dignified and calm, representing leadership, resilience, and unity. On the 1994 P Mint Mark quarter, this portrait continues to honor Washington's role in shaping the nation. The details of the portrait, from the powdered hair to the strong facial structure, reflect decades of refined engraving techniques that had been perfected by the time this coin was struck. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design that collectors instantly recognize. The eagle, wings spread wide, stands proudly with arrows and olive branches, symbolizing strength and peace. This design reinforces the ideals of the United States and reminds us that even the smallest denominations carry powerful national messages. The reverse of the 1994 Washington quarter maintains this classic imagery, preserving a design that had already stood the test of time. One of the most important details of this coin is the P Mint mark. This single letter tells a significant story. The P indicates that the coin was minted in Philadelphia, one of the most historic and influential minting facilities in the United States. The Philadelphia Mint has been producing coins since the earliest days of the nation, and its output represents tradition, craftsmanship, and consistency. By 1994, the Philadelphia Mint was operating with modern technology while still honoring centuries-old practices. Coins from this mint are widely collected, and the P Mint mark adds an extra layer of interest for numismatists. Although millions of quarters were produced in 1994, not all coins are created equal in the eyes of collectors. Factors such as strike quality, surface condition, luster, and preservation play a crucial role in determining desirability. Many 1994 P quarters entered circulation and experienced years of wear, scratches, and environmental exposure. However, coins that were carefully stored, never circulated, or preserved in mint condition tell a very different story. These examples showcase sharp details, brilliant surfaces, and a level of craftsmanship that often goes unnoticed by the general public. Collectors are often fascinated by how a common coin can transform into something special through rarity of condition rather than rarity of mintage. This is particularly true for the 1994 P Washington quarter. While the total number minted was high, finding examples in exceptional condition can be surprisingly challenging. This difficulty fuels interest and keeps collectors searching through rolls, collections, and auctions in hopes of discovering a standout piece. Another reason this coin attracts attention is its place in the broader timeline of U.S. coinage. The 1994 Washington quarter was produced just a few years before the introduction of the 50-state quarters program, which began in the late 1990s. That program dramatically changed how Americans viewed quarters, turning them into collectible items rather than just everyday change. As a result, coins minted shortly before this transition, including the 1994 P quarter, are often seen as part of the final chapter of a classic era in American coin design. For many collectors, the appeal of this coin is deeply personal. It may remind them of childhood, of using quarters in arcades, vending machines, or parking meters. It may represent a year of significance in their own lives. Coins have a unique ability to connect history with personal memory, and the 1994 Washington quarter is no exception. Holding one can feel like holding a small piece of the past, preserved in metal. The metal composition of the 1994 Washington quarter is also worth noting. Like other modern quarters of its time, it is composed of a copper core with a nickel outer layer. This composition gives the coin its familiar color and durability, allowing it to withstand years of circulation. While it does not contain precious metals like silver, its value lies in its collectability, condition, and the story it represents rather than its raw material content. Collectors who focus on Washington quarters often pay close attention to subtle details. These can include the sharpness of Washington's hair, the clarity of the lettering, and the strength of the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Small differences in strike quality can make a noticeable impact on a coin's appeal. The 1994 P quarter, when struck particularly well, can display exceptional eye appeal that sets it apart from average examples. Over time, interest in modern coinage has continued to grow. More collectors are realizing that valuable and desirable coins are not limited to the distant past. Modern coins, especially those in high grades or with unique characteristics, have carved out a strong place in the numismatic world. The 1994 P. Washington quarter stands as a perfect example of this trend. It proves that even relatively recent coins can capture attention and admiration when viewed through the lens of history and quality. For YouTube viewers and coin enthusiasts alike, learning about this quarter is not just about numbers or market trends. It is about understanding why people collect, what drives passion for numismatics, and how everyday objects can become meaningful treasures. This coin encourages viewers to look more closely at the change in their pockets and consider the stories hidden within. As we reach the end of this exploration, it becomes clear that the 1994 P. Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar is far more than a simple piece of currency. It represents a moment in American history, the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint, and the enduring legacy of George Washington. Its value is shaped by condition, collector demand, and the fascination surrounding modern U.S. coinage. Today, we are stepping into a fascinating chapter of modern U.S. coinage, focusing on a coin that many people have held, spent, or overlooked without realizing its deeper importance. This video is dedicated entirely to the United States of America 2009 D. Mint Mark Washington quarter dollar coin, a coin born during one of the most dramatic economic periods in modern history. The year 2009 was unlike any other. America was standing at the crossroads of recovery and uncertainty. The financial crisis had shaken the nation, jobs were lost, markets were unstable, and confidence was fragile. In the middle of this historic moment, the U.S. Mint continued its mission, producing circulating coinage that would quietly document this era for future generations. Among these coins was the Washington quarter, struck at the Denver Mint and marked with the iconic D. Mint mark. The Washington quarter itself carries a legacy that stretches back to 1932, originally issued to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the decades, the design evolved, but the spirit remained the same. By 2009, the quarter had become a storyteller, reflecting not only the face of America's first president but also the challenges and changes of the nation. What makes the 2009 D. Mint Mark Washington quarter especially intriguing is the time in which it was produced. Coin production numbers dropped significantly during this period. The economic slowdown reduced demand for new coins, leading to lower mintages compared to surrounding years. This subtle detail plays a major role in why collectors today pay closer attention to these quarters. The Denver Mint, located at the base of the Rocky Mountains, has a long-standing reputation for producing high-quality coins with strong strikes. Coins from this mint are identified by the small but powerful D. Mint mark, a letter that instantly signals origin and authenticity. In 2009, Denver struck Washington quarters that were meant for circulation, yet many of them never traveled far. Some were stored, some were saved, and some quietly slipped into collections without anyone realizing their future importance. Design-wise, the obverse features George Washington's left-facing portrait, dignified and timeless. His expression reflects leadership and resolve, qualities that felt especially meaningful during that difficult year. The inscriptions surrounding him represent liberty, trust, and the enduring values of the United States. These words were not just decorative, they were reminders of national identity during uncertain times. The reverse design in 2009 connects to the District of Columbia and U.S. Territories Quarters program, a continuation of the popular State Quarters series. This program celebrated regions beyond the 50 states, giving representation to areas often overlooked. It added cultural depth to the quarter series and expanded collector interest worldwide. Collectors value the 2009 D. Washington quarter for several reasons. First, its historical context sets it apart. Coins tied to major economic events often gain long-term attention because they serve as physical evidence of those moments. Second, the reduced production levels make it less common than many people assume. While not rare in the traditional sense, high-quality examples are far more difficult to find today. Condition plays a massive role in the worth of this coin. Circulated examples tell stories of commerce, travel, and everyday life. Uncirculated specimens, however, capture the moment of minting, frozen in time. Coins with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal contact marks are especially desirable. These qualities are what separate ordinary pocket change from serious collector material. Another important factor is grading. Professionally graded coins that meet strict standards often command greater attention. A 2009 D Washington quarter that survives in exceptional condition becomes a standout among its peers. The Denver Mint's striking quality helps, but preservation is everything. The interest in this coin has grown steadily over the years. As collectors look back at modern coinage, they are beginning to recognize that value is not determined by age alone. Significance, scarcity within condition levels, and historical context all contribute to desirability. The 2009 D quarter checks all of these boxes. Beyond collectors, this coin also appeals to history enthusiasts. It represents resilience. It represents continuity. Even when the economy struggled, the minting of coins continued, symbolizing stability and endurance. Holding this quarter is like holding a small piece of American perseverance. Many people underestimate modern coins, assuming value only exists in the distant past. But numismatics is evolving. Modern issues are now being studied with the same seriousness once reserved for early American coinage. The 2009 D Washington quarter stands as proof that modern coins can carry weight, meaning, and growing worth. For YouTube audiences, this coin offers a perfect blend of history, mystery, and education. It invites viewers to look again at their pocket change and ask deeper questions. What year is it? Where was it made? What was happening in the world when it was struck? These questions turn ordinary objects into extraordinary stories. As time moves forward, fewer pristine examples remain. Coins get spent, damaged, or lost. The survivors become more significant. That is why awareness today matters. Understanding the importance of the 2009 D Mint Mark Washington quarter allows collectors and enthusiasts to preserve history before it fades. This coin is not just metal. It is a message from the past decade, a reminder of challenge and continuity. It connects economics, art, and national identity into a single 25-cent piece that continues to gain recognition. And now, after understanding its background, its production, its significance, and its place in American numismatic history, we arrive at the moment everyone waits for.